Hi, I'm João Lima, editor of Data Economy, and this is Frontline. Today we look into China, a $23 trillion GDP market with a population of 1.4 billion people, but which only 750 million are connected to the internet, leaving one of the largest gaps in the market in the Asia-Pacific region. One of the largest players in this market is CITIC Telecom CPC, a telecommunications and services provider whose revenues are already 10% up in its interim results for the first half of 2017. And to talk us more through the company and the market in this region, I've got here with me Stephen Ho, CEO of CITIC Telecom CPC. Stephen, thanks a lot for talking to me.
Thanks, Will.
You've recently announced a lot of expansion. You've made some acquisitions over this year as well. Why are you trying to get in and out of China as a company?
Okay, that's a very good question to start. CITIC Telecom CPC originally do a lot of business of what we call connecting the world to China because of the vast investment opportunities for foreign companies to invest in China, and we serve them all over the Greater China area, and then later on we extended to Asia. Now, you talk about in and out of China, but we're also seeing, because of the policy of the Chinese government, who's encouraging a lot of their enterprise in mainland China to invest outside of China, and in particular now that we're in London, here in Europe, in Eastern Europe and elsewhere. So that will be the other side of connecting China back to the rest of the world. So that's the in and out thing about what you're referring to, which is what we're doing here in Capacity Europe.
Okay. One of your interesting outs of China was your acquisition of Linx Communications in Eastern Europe, so access to markets like Latvia, Lithuania, Lithuania. How did the acquisition came along? Because that was in January or February this year. How has it changed the company? How are you adapting? Or how are you finding the market to be in those soft regions?
We're very excited about this acquisition, indeed. And in fact, we completed this acquisition in February this year. Linx Telecom now has been renamed as CITIC Telecom CPC Europe, has its footprint, like you said, in the Baltic states, of course, Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania and other places in Eastern Europe. In fact, it covers 14 countries in Eastern Europe and with 24 point of presence. Now, what it sits, Linx Telecom, the old Linx Telecom network, is all from Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Central Asia, and to Eastern Europe, and a little bit of Russia as well. That has a footprint of very complementary to what we have in our part of the world. In fact, it is an extension of our network to here in Europe. And as I've said earlier, we have a lot of Chinese enterprise investing now in Europe, and those are the places where we can fit and be able to serve these customers.
So what sort of things are your Chinese customers demanding or wanting from a services provider like you when they try to enter Europe? And not just Eastern Europe, the whole of Europe.
Absolutely. In fact, our main focus and main major products are in 4 areas. What we call the MPLS Virtual Private Network, which is a private network for enterprise. The cloud computing platforms that we're also integrating into the networks, as well as the managed security. Of course, we do manage the data centers all over the world as well. These are some of the things that we believe the Chinese enterprise are very interested in, and especially when they are first investing outside of their own territory, they need help in terms of putting the application software, in terms of securities, in terms of data centers, and what have you, to make their business viable and run their day-to-day business.
Okay, and as you mentioned, data centers all over the world, so you run about 30 data centers globally. But one of your latest openings was a massive campus in China, in Beijing, about 150,000 square feet of a data center building. What's the market like when it comes to data centers, clouds, telecommunications in China, or at least within the Beijing region?
It is very exciting. I think as you understand that, in recent years, the information technologies in market in China has grown substantially, especially in the internet area, what they call the Internet Plus, which is equivalent to here in this part of the world called digital transformations, whereby enterprises and government are adopting these areas. And data centers, of course, is a prerequisite for people to put in these equipment, their servers, their cloud platforms, and so on. And then, of course, in Beijing, there are lots and lots of enterprise in that city, one of the biggest cities in China. So the market, in fact, is still under-provisioned, right? Under-provided. There's still a lot of demand there. And we started, a small modules of the data centers that you have just mentioned to cope with some of the demands that we've got, and especially in cloud computing, whereby right now in China it is also a very hot topic.
Okay, and then when Chinese companies look into a data center, what do they look for? Do they look for not just the latest technology? Do they want the latest facility that was opened last month, not the one that was opened 3 or 4 months ago? What sort of things do they look into? Because we have a lot of people moving now from this side of the world into China. So there's a lot of interest. In the next, I'll say, 2 to 5 years, there'll be a lot of companies making their way into China.
Absolutely.
So what do companies need to be aware of?
Well, the good news is a lot of the data centers built in China are state-of-the-art with the latest in technologies. So when enterprises or anybody who chooses a data center in China, they're more often than not, they will be able to choose a tier 3, tier 3 plus, and some of them are even a tier 4 standard, right? People normally look for, and in fact there are legislations or regulations about how you build data centers in China, like the PUE, which of course is very stringent nowadays because of greenhouse effects and so on. So people are very looking into the environment of it. But of course, you're looking at interconnectivity as well. You put in your server, you put in your cloud platform in the data centers. You really need that connectivity everywhere in China, and of course outside of China as well. So you're talking about 2 types now. One is the enterprise. They don't put in a lot of racks, if you like. They don't look in a lot of servers, but people, and then there are of course the OTT providers that they're looking at massive data center to house their equipment. But both of them look for energy and power, right? Because nowadays servers, in fact, consume a lot of power. So that is one of the areas that people look into, is the ability to provide power, the ability to provide that resiliency, so that they will be having a 24/7 year-round operation.
Okay, and then we've spoken about Europe, we've spoken about China. Then one of the most interesting things about China is this One Belt, One Roads economic cooperation initiative. How is CITIC Telecom CPC playing its role in the initiative with the government? Because this involves about 60 plus countries, not just in Asia, so across APAC, Europe, EMEA. There's a lot going on with this situation here, with this initiative.
This is, and in fact, this strategy and policy is absolutely very exciting for us. The Belt and Road Initiative. Now, of course, what we have done was we completed the Linx acquisition here in February, and that's really cover what we call the Belt area, all the way from Kazakhstan and then Central Europe and to Eastern Europe, right? So we've been able to build a network of 24 point of presence there on a layer 2 and a layer 3 technology, so Ethernet and MPLS-based virtual private networks. And we've got data centers facilities along the way as well. So this is very exciting, but we want to do that because we're seeing, because of the strategy, we're seeing a lot of companies now in China investing into Europe, and we're hoping that this, of course, will be able to serve enterprises that investing in these areas. On the other side, coming across from Asia to the sea route, going through Singapore and then all the way back to Africa and then Mediterranean and so on. We've got our presence already in Singapore. We've got a tremendous network presence in Asia as well. That part that we're still missing in terms of that strategy is probably the route through India and into the Mediterranean, into Europe, and we're looking into those possibilities as well. Okay,
and then talking about further expansion, when we look into places like Africa, Middle East, and even South America, are those regions that you're interested in? Because a lot of Chinese companies are there. For example, Huawei is very strong in Africa.
Bullseye. You just touch on the right points. I think traditionally China has invested tremendously in Africa. They've invested tremendously in South America. We're of course looking into those areas right now. But first comes first is really these acquisitions that we've got now and renamed as CPC Europe. We want to make that work. We want to make sure that people here in Europe, in Eastern Europe, and so forth, will be able to provide the services that they need. And at the same time, we're looking at other possibilities of investment. Either we build on our own, or maybe we look for somebody or some companies that suitable for acquisition purpose.
So can we expect you to have data centers in Africa, say in the next 5 years, for example?
I surely hope so.
Okay. And then to quickly finish, around technology in China and its place in the world. And then this is a bit of a general one. Let's start with cloud and then move into the technology side. We have companies like Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent. We have now Huawei, who launched its own public cloud in China as well. What does the Chinese cloud market have to offer the world? Because on this side of the world, we only hear pretty much about AWS, Microsoft, Google, all those big guys from America. But now there's the Chinese ones coming into the play as well. So how do you envision this future?
Well, I think the BAT has done a tremendous job, because not only are they cloud provider, I think they're the OTT, where they've been able to utilize the latest of technologies that can be offered. So other than cloud computing that you were saying, that they offer to the public, they're also very advanced in terms of cashless payment, for example. And then China is very advanced in that. The e-commerce aspects of it are also very advanced. I mean, people, they don't need to go out to shop. I mean, they now got a habit of buying a lot of things at home as well. So in that regard, I think technologically, China is adapting that very, very quickly, and especially with the Internet Plus strategy by the government. A lot of the enterprise are adapting those. So on the one side, you have the OTT players or the telecommunications incumbents are providing these services, but on the other hand, you actually got demand in the market, and these people, they don't have a legacy of the old technologies that they have to throw away, but they can very easily adapt to the new technologies. And in fact, CITIC Telecom CPC is doing that on the enterprise space as well.
Okay, and then to close as we started, so China, 1.4 billion people, 750 million plus are connected to the internet. That's about 50-50, nearly 50-50, just about 50% connected to the internet. When do you expect this gap to narrow even more to nearly 90 to 100%?
It's, for me, it's very hard to make a prediction, but I know that the speed of adoption and the penetration of 3G, 4G, and even 5G are coming of age, is coming in very quickly, and hopefully in not too distant futures, a lot of the people will be able to enjoy the benefit of internet and what Internet Plus can provide them.
Okay, Stephen, thanks a lot for talking to me.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget you can follow Data Economy on Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn, and also visit the website on www.data-economy.com.